Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm your host, Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Streetside Brewery, one of the best Cincinnati breweries you will find, well, in Cincinnati. They're over on the east side of Cincinnati, the Columbia-Tusculum neighborhood, and their tap room has one of the greatest environments I can speak to for a brewery in Cincinnati. There's always something going on. The beer is always rotating, always something interesting, always something good you can find on the menu. I love all of their beers that I've tried, and I gotta tell you, this coming weekend, a very busy one over at Streetside. The Queen City Fulham Watch Party kicks off Friday, August 16th. That is the Fulham supporters group that'll be at Streetside. You can go support them there at 3 p.m. Man United. On Saturday, August 17th, 1 to 4, Streetside Bookery. This is being billed as a book fair for adults being put on by the Bookery. Some good folks over there. Go check them out. Later that evening, they've got live music out on the patio from 3 to 6 from Sparky Hartfield, and they've got music later on that evening as well. It's always a happening time over at Streetside. Hey, and when you're there, be sure to use, well, not a promo code, but be sure to drop the Postcast podcast. When you're checking out, your bartender will knock $1 off of your beer each time they're at Streetside. So a huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this episode, and a huge thank you to you, dear listener, for checking them out and using the code. And on today's episode, well, we're in the middle of the tournament, right? Leagues Cup fever is alive and well. We recap the Santos Laguna match that ended dramatically in penalties. And it was, I don't know, a Rorschach test of a match. Good vibes, bad vibes. How we feeling coming out of this one? In part 2, it's your suggestions for a better Leagues Cup. The Chief put out the call on Twitter. We look at what are some of the ideas folks have out there. And in part 3, well, like I said, we're in the middle of the tournament. It is Philly coming up on Tuesday. We recap. No, we don't recap. We preview. We predict that match. We touch on a little bit of transfer drama in part 3 as well, sort of sprinkled throughout. You put it all together, you got yourselves a very Leagues Cup postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, I'm joined by two gentlemen who cannot get enough of the Leagues Cup, joined by the Chief and joined by Jonah. Jonah, it's been a while. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fabulous. I've trying to recover from this Leagues Cup fever, but you know, once it's inside of you, the only solution is more Leagues Cup, so... Excited. Thrilled.
It is a stupid tournament that as soon as our team is doing well, I am invested in it. Had we lost against Santos in penalties, I was ready to write the whole thing off. Never cared about it. Good to see Cheeto out there. Alas,
yeah, you know, I mean,
I gotta care.
It's good to see Cheeto out there. Now kind of worried which team he's playing for, but other than that, you know.
Hey. Chief, do we care more about the Leagues Cup now that we have achieved your goal of having just won that first knockout game?
Yes, here's the problem though, is that like my goal was just to win the first knockout game.
Right.
But in winning the first knockout game, now I am invested. And so it's like, I don't know what to do with my hands because we're here. We are, what are we, 4 wins away from a trophy now with winnable type games. I don't know. It's, let's do this. Let's win this.
There you go. It's that hedonistic treadmill.
I got the fever.
each step isn't enough for the final step. You know, a loss
Right.
to Philly isn't acceptable now, or is it, Jonah?
Well, I was thinking, looking back at last year, I was looking at penalties. We lost to Nashville. The annoying part is that the League's Cup keeps going if we're out of it. And
Right.
then, you can ignore it, which I'm sure most of us pretty much ignored it after we got knocked out. But it's not fair that other teams are still playing when we're not. Like, all right, let's just go back to the season. So, yeah, as long as we're in it, I'm invested. As soon as we're not in it, I assume this is most teams, my investment level wanes. I found myself like rooting for Liga MX teams that we weren't playing. I was like, I feel bad because they don't get to play at home. It was like, it looks like a fake tournament if all the Liga MX teams lose.
Right.
So when more of them enough get through, it adds to some fake kind of legitimacy to the tournament. So I think enough have made it through.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry. I wasn't keeping me up at night, but we got that solved, and now we battle one of our own. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. It looks like there may have been 4 places that were sort of guaranteed to MLS teams because it was an MLS versus MLS. After that, I believe it is 6 of the teams are Mexican of the 16.
It does bring to mind an interesting question, though, that like if all of the teams remaining in League's Cup were Liga MX teams, does MLS stop promoting it then at that point? Like, do they pull the feed at Apple? Like, no, we can't show this.
Or is that the dream? Like, is it the dream that the Mexican teams dominate this?
I mean, that's some dat dude logic. You mean like MLS watching in the corner? Like, what's the...
Well, so that
Beat us.
Because at the end of the day, right, like the marriage and the argument is you've got the money of MLS and the eyeballs of Liga MX. And so if you have Liga MX eyeballs watching League's Cup on Apple, MLS season pass or whatever, like that's ultimately the win. If it encourages more and more America and Tigres and Cruz Azul fans to be buying the MLS season pass, and then maybe they accidentally watch a Messi game later on and they see Cincinnati beat them and they go, oh, that Cincinnati team's really fun. Oh, I remember Lucho Acosta, and all of a sudden you just picked up a casual fan. Isn't that the dream?
I don't know what the dream is.
I don't either.
It's more to come on that in segment 2, I guess. But I don't know. The other thing that's weird about this, and again, we'll talk about this when we talk about the League's Cup more generally. You win on Friday, and then we have another game on Tuesday. And the people who I feel terrible for are whoever it is that is working in the FC Cincinnati front office, trying desperately to sell tickets to these games.
Ooh, who has it harder, Jonah? The ticket sales folks who are trying to turn around sales against Philadelphia in like 4 days, or the grounds crew trying to desperately sow the turf down?
I was about to interrupt to say that because I was like, it's the turf people. I will say it is coming up in like almost comical chunks. Maybe that's the preferred way you'd want it to come up if you're a groundskeeper. Like it looks like a carpet that's like you stub your toe on a rug and like it move the whole thing forward. And then you see players just walk right by it. I'm like, hey, give it a little stomp there, buddy. Come on. Like this might deflect a ball for you. And that's what I think I tweeted it. I was like, who's this going to affect first? Like, are we either going to saved by a bump or harmed by a bump? I guess it hasn't. Well, I don't know. We've probably had some injuries because of this turf already, but I'm going with the turf because they're already having enough time as it is getting it to glue down into the base layer of soil. So
with the caveat, not a landscaper, I've never successfully grown a houseplant in my life. We switched from a hybrid surface to a pure grass surface, right?
That's my understanding, yes.
What it was the hybrid part, what was keeping the turf down? Because if so, maybe we need to reconsider that decision or get someone with like a nail gun, like a roofer to start, nailing this shit down. I don't know. But
Could it be hybrid natural grass and roofing nails? Yeah.
Or like Elmer's glue. I don't know. Like Gorilla Glue is right down the road. They're a local company. Just spread some of that shit on the dirt and see if that holds it down.
Kevin, this podcast is already proven to have more pull than could have ever imagined with guests. Your Paul Walters, your Roman Celentano, your Yuya Kubos, for God's sakes. Whew. It feels possible, and I think it could be informative. You guys get the biggest get of all, which could be like the head's groundskeeper at TQL Stadium to explain it. Because he probably sees the complaints. He searches the field on Twitter. You know, he checks his mentions. Yeah. He hears. He knows what Chief's saying out there. He knows what it hurts him more than anyone else to see these chunks come up. I bet he could, smooth it over, not the field, but smooth some of our issues over by explaining. It's like, you fucking idiots don't even know how hard it is to keep it this well. So tell us. So we know the front office are big listeners. So I'm just saying, offer somebody from the turf establishment, and I have a feeling Kevin will oblige. Maybe a special one-off episode, pure turf.
You know what? I will make this. Yes, obviously, if anybody is listening, it could help this along. By all means, help me. But Wednesday, I will commit to having some sort of field conversation focused guest. OK, ideally, somebody from the team or the club. But I will go find somebody not affiliated with the team to offer an informed opinion if I have to. I like this.
Yeah. Grass people, if you're out there, we're looking for the Marquise de Sade of FC Cincinnati. Please let us know. I have so many questions. Yeah.
And didn't the Reds used to have, and maybe they still do, but I remember the Reds won awards consistently for the field quality, and they were always one of the more highly regarded fields out there, lawn care teams.
But is that one of those made up, like you
That's
kind
the
of
thing, though?
like
TQL won award? Yeah, it's like we created this basically to win an award,
and you can win whatever stadium award you need.
And that was one of I always hated it because like Columbus had like the best field like forever. I don't know if lower.com is equal to map free, but they always had that. And then we had a gorgeous field too. So yeah, I hate to be at one of the fields where you're like, God, look at this fucking field.
Because it does rob you of the ability to criticize other people's fields. Like we were all jumping on San Jose for the awful quality of their field and ruining Matt Miazga's season. We're really not in any better shape right now. It's just a matter of time until someone levies that accusation against us.
I mean, was Hagelin's injury before or after the Kenny Chesney concert at this point? I think it was before. It was before. Okay.
Also, of all like the musical artists to ruin your field over, Kenny Chesney, really?
They sold it out, I guess. So
I guess.
Mission accomplished.
You know, it's funny. I don't know a single Kenny Chesney fan. I know this is very like, how did Richard Nixon win the election? But like, I can't name a single person that was at that Kenny Chesney concert.
I don't know why
Crisis
I'm thinking.
Actors? Oh,
maybe AI.
There you go.
It was an AI.
Nobody
crowd.
was there. Yeah.
Not my demographic. It's not for me. But you know, it was for me. Penalty kick shootouts.
Hey.
And you know what? For all I talk shit about him, Roman Celentano, that goes down as a stop.
It actually doesn't, because I've been checking the Football Reference stats. They do make a difference between penalty attempts missed and saved. But yes, we'll say his intimidation will go down as save. League's Cup rules for keeping track of those bad boys. For
what was supposed to be a lopsided game on paper. I'm looking at this, and I forgot FOTMob has this, and this is always great. And I'm sure this was a very, unbiased voting sample. But of the almost 4,000 votes on who will win, of which you can pick draw on the knockout game, which was great. 10% pick draw, so that was good. 17% pick Santos, and it was a 72% for FC Cincinnati. So that is where the general public was leaning going into this one. All of the major stats essentially point to FC Cincinnati essentially having dominated this match, and it did feel that way for long stretches of this game. And yet, this was a nerve-wracking affair that FC Cincinnati had to come back from. Now, granted, they did that within about 5 minutes, but then it was a very weird, tense affair that slowly but surely made its way to penalties.
You know what was funny about it, though? At no point during this game. So Cheeto has just a... I know the abbreviation is CHIDO, but this was like a CHEETO move from the man here. He has that just awful touch pass. I don't know what the hell happened. I'm going to choose to believe the turf contributed to whatever it was that went on there, to blame the turf again. And they score off that mistake. And it's somewhat deflating at the start of the match, but that was really the last time I felt like they threatened the entire game. There was no point for the remainder of the actual gameplay where they looked a threat to score. Like, right. I don't remember any last second defending bailouts. I don't remember any close set piece plays. They were terrible offensively. And it felt like we were dominating for incredibly long stretches of this game and just could not put a shot on frame, put a shot past. It was frustrating to watch because you knew that once this team got to PKs, you're basically talking about a coin flip off a game they probably had the better of 70 to 80% of the time.
Yeah. Jonah, what's your vibe leaving that game? Do you feel better, seeing how the backline eventually recovered, the fact that this was a Lucho-less game that was pretty well dominated on offense? Or, I don't know, do we not feel great about not being able to close that one out?
I think you got to feel pretty good. And I'm looking at the shots on goal. They had their goal, then they had one other one that I think they were in on goal and shot right at Roman early in the first half. So I think that was it. And then Lucho obviously did not look 100%. He had that one great long ball through. I mean, that went like outside of his boot, but he didn't look totally himself. It was definitely the best Lucho-less game I think I've seen, just as far as how dangerous we were. So You got to assume Lucho is going to be 10% better, 15% better in the next game. So I'm choosing to be positive, and we won the penalty shootout. Nobody missed a penalty. What else do you want? They had me scared because the announcers kept talking about like he's already saved a penalty, so he's feeling good. And I think like the goalie with hair is the most overrated goalie in the world. There's just something about him. Like it looks more special, and they flinging around and they're stopping shots. So they're like, oh, he's got a lot of flair. Like he just has hair. I'm pretty sure he just has hair. And obviously I don't know this guy at all, but I'm like, he's good, but it's his hair, and it's amazing hair. But you don't see that on goalies very often. But I think that led to him being overhyped. So I'm feeling positive. That doesn't mean we won't lose on Tuesday, but I would expect a win, and I'm semi-confident going in.
Yeah. What's a better feature for the goalkeeper? Great head of hair or great facial hair?
The great head of hair does a lot. I mean, obviously for a goalkeeper, but it does a lot for a field player as well. It's like nowadays,
you look faster with a great head of hair.
Well, you also will you notice the guy with the pink hair, right? So like when the pink hair guy pops up, you're like, oh, there he is again. This guy's everywhere. But like, if you just have a regular old haircut, nobody's really talking about how, wow, he's everywhere.
It's like Fellaini from Manchester United, where he had like just the afro.
The ginger afro,
like the Dutch afro. And it was, you notice where he's at all times. But then I think to myself about Roman. Roman has incredible facial hair. And I feel like that's something that's, you're staring down a guy with a mustache. I feel like that's way more intimidating in a PK shootout than staring down a guy that looks like he might have a perm.
Well, The results speak for themselves
They
because
do.
one team lost their nerve and the other team didn't. Okay.
Power of the mustache. We talked with Paul Walters about this. You play better with a mustache, I think.
He did say that. Before we go much further about this, I do want to run through the FCC lineup just to set the expectations, because I think we saw a clue as to what this team could look like going forward for the rest of the season, potentially. Roman Celentano in goal. Your back line was, as far as I'm concerned, the best possible back line they could run out there. Ian Murphy, Cheeto, Awazim, and Robinson from left to right. That was Assad out on the far left as your wingback, with DeAndre Yedlin making his comeback on the right wingback, Buka and Wobodo as your defensive midfielders, Valenzuela and Orishano ahead of them in that sort of dueling 10 role, with Yuya Kubo as the sole lone striker up on top. Jonah, thoughts when you saw the lineup?
It's time for Dado to cook. This is the game. I'm ready. Besides Lucho, what else are you going to ask for? I will say, this is too early to be defending Flamin' Hot Cheeto, but ignoring his missed kick, I can't remember him having a moment where he's played where it's like, oh boy. And I think every other center back has given us some of those moments. So just for that, I'm already giving him a pass. But I look at that lineup and then I look at Santos Laguna and I realize I don't know a single player on their team. So what else do you want? How many did you know, Kevin? Don't lie to me. People are listening.
Knew none of them.
Okay. I mean, that says more about me, probably, like the ignorant MLS fan, or that they're not one of the higher rated, Liga MX teams that you're going to come across.
We say that, but they traveled some fans to this game who were very loud, brought a banner, brought a drum. So somebody gives a shit about this team, just not me.
So Santos is one of those teams that has had success. They're not strangers to titles. They've done well in CONCACAF Champions League. They're on a bit of a downswing at the moment, is sort of the impression I get. But they are typically a pretty good, do better than their weight class would you would expect from them. And it's also my understanding, I got this impression from the announcers and from some of the comments I got online, that their goalkeeper is a bit of a legend in Liga MX, that he is very highly regarded in Mexico, has had a couple of appearances for the Mexican national team. This is his only club. I'm going to assume it's like a boyhood club type thing. That's the only note I have there. So maybe there's not as much shame in sort of the performance he did end up putting on by us, because after about 20 minutes of this game, it really did feel like Santos was just playing for penalties. Yeah.
Lineup was good, though. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think of this formation, the sword formation? Because I feel like the first time we deployed it, it has never looked as good as that original time. And I'm just chasing that high again of what it looked like the first time.
So, I mean, obviously you'd want to see Lucho in with this lineup, but I guess then the question becomes, do you just swap him out for Valenzuela, or do you, I mean, that's the move, right? Obviously there, but potentially you move Orishano to the left wing back position and take out Assad for Lucho. And so it's Valenzuela and Lucho underneath Kubo with Orishano out left. I don't know which one would be better per se. I do know that I trust Kubo even after this game, which I will defend Kubo wholeheartedly after this match. I trust Kubo way more than I trust literally any other striker on this team. And I'm not desperate to see a two-striker formation. I don't know, Jonah. Do you have different thoughts there?
No, I saw Chief has Kubo thoughts that he's waiting to get off. Yeah, it's hard to trust anyone else. Strangely, I think more than anyone, as a sub, trust Sergio Santos a lot for some reason now. Even when he's not putting in goals, you feel like he gels with the team so well. He just doesn't, he doesn't always do the goal scoring like we like. He misses some easy goals, but like, I don't know. I like his vibes are extremely on the level of the team. Yeah. So I'm happy with him as the sub role. Kubo, when Lucho's not out there, feels like the most intelligent player on the field. And maybe I could have won that penalty because that dude stuck his leg about 3 feet up in the air for some reason. Not the best defense you'll ever see, but yeah. And once his BFF Lucho's out there full time with him again, I suspect like a goal every 3 games or something for Kubo, as long as he's out there. But yeah, I don't know.
That's good for 3 more league goals for Kubo, assuming it all goes
right.
according
Let's
to
be
plan.
honest.
Okay.
That's more than he's scored like ever. Yeah.
Right. Well, Chief, we can do blow by blow, or we can launch into Kubo discourse right now. Where do you want to go with this?
I mean, we already talked about there's a horrible giveaway by Cheeto that leads to their first goal.
Yeah. It's weird because I just want to he goes to make a pass and passes it against his own plant foot. It's such a freak play that I would like to Zapruder film it at some point and try to see if the turf does move at all. It is such a bizarre, just learning the sport of soccer type mistake that I'm willing to chalk it up to freak accident. We've seen Miazga literally pass it into the back of the goal before, so I think he gets a pass on one of these.
What was worse, that or the Miazga?
I say Miazga.
I would say Miazga.
Because Cheeto's looking, where he's trying to pass would have been okay. Yeah, Miazga passed where he wanted, and unfortunately, it was in the goal. But I'm willing to hear a counter argument to that.
Like Roman's play or Miazga's play was he did everything he was supposed to. It was a fine back pass just to no one. Versus this play with Cheeto. I don't know what the hell he was trying to do. I'm hoping it was the turf, because otherwise it was just it's almost like one of those things where you're playing a golf video game and you just don't hit the button on the swing meter.
Right.
And just, it's all right, whatever target zone you were supposed to hit, the green area to really hit the ball, you just blew right by that. And
his foot's going in the direction of who was playing on his side? Miles Robinson.
Yeah.
If he was over there. But then it goes straight into his leg.
His other foot is in the way.
I will say, before you talk about it, doesn't react at all like Miazga. In fact, he didn't react at all. He wasn't like, oh my God. He was just he didn't even look down. He just was totally flat about it. And I was like, do I like that or do I hate that? I was like, maybe do I like that? I don't know. I was like, he's just oh, that was weird. He just moved on. So good for him for immediately moving on. Because I felt nervous for Miazga the next 10 minutes after the goal. And when they passed it back, it was a big ooh. But there was never really another moment with Cheeto where they, made him put him under pressure, honestly, the rest of the game. So
no, he had a reaction very similar to a bad pitcher in baseball where he gives up the home run. It's yeah, what else is new? Just
throw me the ball back. Let's get on to the next
batter. Just, whatever.
It's better
short
than,
memory.
I will say it's much better than he does that pass and then falls down and complains that his ankle is hurt or something. Just to be
no, I like that.
No, I had a reason.
I'm a big fan of that move, honestly.
Lucho,
the DB that pulls up with the hamstring after he gets torched deep.
Yeah, it's good.
That's what I thought Noah Lyles was doing when he came in third. Right. Before I knew about COVID, I was like, wow, he's really playing up oh, I'm so sick. I was like, oh, he's got COVID. Fine, whatever. Sorry, Chief. Go ahead.
Although with Noah Lyles, it's well, why were you doing the dance routine before? If you've got only this much energy to give,
fake it till you make it, baby. I don't know.
So when does the PK happen? 20 minutes late. So, before we get to the PK, it's Lucas scores the goal to equalize. One of the best goals I've seen all year. Like, just an incredible shot.
It was so good. Just the absolute rocket. And I think certainly influenced the poll that we put up on the post about would you take him as a DP? I mean, honestly, he has that in the bag. We've seen similar goals to that from him. Yeah, that was sick. I don't know what else to say. That was awesome.
That was pretty cool. He's probably is he the best outside shooter on this team?
By far. Like, Dotto is inches away from probably the best goal in FC Cincinnati history, but he didn't make it, right? So you don't get to count that.
No.
Buka's pretty good from outside. He seems to have the ability to hit that.
What's wild about this goal, too, is that he is dead center of the field with 4 defenders around him. It wasn't like people backed off and he took a strike because they were giving him space. Like, he created a shooting window out of absolutely nothing with this shot. It was slick.
The scouting report is out on him. You could, like, the last few weeks, they're definitely playing him to, I mean, you would hope if they watch any games, they're like,
right.
We should stop giving him this angle that he absolutely thrives at. But, you know, if you're good enough, obviously we've seen you're going to get on that foot eventually. Unless you're
what's interesting about this goal is that, like Jonah says, the book is out on how to defend him. It's just he snaps the shot off before the 2 help defenders can cut him off from going any further across the front of the 18-yard box. So chess match, just like you can try to box me in. I'm just going to shoot it sooner. Fuck you.
Or from midfield. We've seen that as well. So
yeah, successfully.
No distance is too far.
The Steph Curry of soccer, just, you know, in the parking lot is still open.
God, and he had that one in the All-Star game too that was not that far off. It does make you excited for, like, the potential of Orishano and Lucho in the midfield together, because as much attention as Orishano's long-range shot will draw, that is ideally defenders not on Lucho, or they're hesitant sticking on Lucho, and it opens up more shots for Orishano. So I think there's certainly an argument for keeping them in there together and keeping Assad out wide. Although when the sub is ultimately made in this game, it is Orishano moving back to that left wing back position and Dotto making way for Lucho. So, maybe a hint as to what they're thinking.
Maybe. So, like, right here, how about that then? So the Post puts out a poll that Orishano, would you keep him as a DP next year? What do the 2 of you vote? Because somebody asked who would ever vote no to this, and the answer is me. I vote no. I'm curious where the 2 of you stand on this.
I'll jump in first. I'll say it probably depends on the other DP. So, like, if the other DP is a striker and, like, a big striker, like a $10 million plus, $15 million plus striker, then I think there is certainly an argument for Orishano coming back as a DP. But if the other DP is like the Richard Sanchez from Club America, you know, just a hair over the DP level, then I'm not as thrilled about Orishano. But I don't know, man. We already know he's this good. It's hard to let that walk away. I don't know.
Yeah, I was obviously voted yes, but there's a million scenarios where my mind could be changed one way or another. But if it's like, oh, it's either he's a DP or we're bringing in, and then, like, you blow my mind with someone, be like, oh, maybe he shouldn't be a DP. But you just look at the team right now and you're like, well, yeah, that makes sense to keep him. The trajectory he's on, but I guess you see how he finishes out the year and what the offers are for him to leave. Like, also, if he wants to stay, it's hard to be like, you're just a little bit out of the range, even though we've seen what you can do. You love it here. You actually want to stay here for some reason and not onto a bigger team. I mean, obviously there's good reasons to want to stay, but like that'd be hard to argue with a known commodity who wants to be here. So if he wants to be here and he keeps playing this well up the field, it'd be hard to say no. Be like, sorry, we actually want to try somebody who we have no idea who will work with FCC, but they're a little more valuable than you.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't think, like, I was playing around with the numbers on a text thread with Kevin and Grayson over the weekend. If the numbers that, like, so Transfer Market has his purchase option at 2.8 million, which is a lot less than what the initial reporting was. And with that, and with the rumored contract that he agreed to, it's going to be so close to the increased max TAM for next year. I find it hard to believe that they didn't negotiate this knowing full well that, like, having the numbers down to the dollar as to what the purchase option and agreed salary would have to be to keep him under the DP threshold. Like, it's too close for that not to have some purpose behind it.
Right.
But my problem, I love Luka. I think he's a great player. He's been great this year. He's probably been the second best player behind Lucho on the team this year. It's probably either him or Miles, to be honest. But I don't know. It's like, I feel like people lose sight of what a DP can be. And there's no limit to who you can bring in. Your limit to who you can bring in is quite literally just your ownership's willingness to spend and a player's willingness to sign. But the only thing stopping you from having your 3 DPs be the 3 best players in MLS is money. And so it's like, yeah, Luka's good, but could Luka start for a lot of top tier clubs over in Europe? Probably not. But we could buy any player on any of those rosters if we're willing to spend the money to do it. Like, there's every man has his price. That was Ted DiBiase's thing in the WWF back in the day. There's a price that gets anyone to come to FC Cincinnati. And I don't know, at a certain point, why would you settle for he's a good MLS player or even a great MLS player when your ownership could go buy a great player somewhere else in the world that is just a great player, period? You don't even have to add the MLS qualifier to it. I don't know. I get worried with this, that when we say things like, oh, we already know he's good and he wants to stay here, that we're going to start covering for low ambition moves and like cheap Cincinnati owner moves. And that's not to say our ownership has been cheap, far from it. But there's going to be a point where you see what other teams are bringing in, like Griezmann, Giroud, and you're just going to have to keep up with the Joneses, or it's going to turn into the Reds, where we're just going to be crying, poor me, we can't afford to spend what all these other teams spend. And I don't like that.
I mean, so yes, completely agree with you. I do think there is a question of like, all right, so like I whatever the debate is out there for the best left back in the world, but I'll just use Alphonso Davies as a stand-in here. So whatever it would take to bring Alphonso Davies to FC Cincinnati is like theoretically out there. I don't know what that is. $50 million, $60 million. You could probably get Alphonso Davies for $75 million a year for 3 years. Or and he'll be great. He'll be probably the best player in MLS if you were to bring him in at that point. Or for not $75 million a year, but for $10 million a year, you could get a guy who is absolutely worse than Alphonso Davies, but is still a top 10 player in MLS. Like, the gap between 75 million and 10 million is so much larger than the gap between Alphonso Davies and an acceptable top 10 player. And I think that is ultimately the question that Chris Albright and ownership will have to sort out, which is we can have the Linder family, you know, it's overall net worth here. But if it only makes us 5% better than the guy that's worth, you know, the ticket sales for 8 games, I don't know that we're going to go ahead and do that. Like, even if you are the wealthiest team in the league, there is a point where the economics just literally don't make sense. not to cover for low ambition, but there is a discount that Giroud and Griezmann are potentially offering LA. That is a discount that Cincinnati won't necessarily get. And I also want to see how good those guys are before I'm scared of them. We've seen Gonzalo Higuain come to this league and suck ass for 3 years. So
yeah, Steve Gerrard, Frank Lampard. No, I get it. Like,
yet.
Yeah,
Shaqiri, a younger guy. Yeah, it's definitely the law of diminishing returns, where you're going to have to spend exponentially more for every once you get to that high tier. It's like, it depends if you're paying for the name and the ticket sales or paying to make the team better. Like, how much better is Weston McKennie than Pavel Buka? Is he $29 million better? I don't know. Like, I would say no, but that doesn't really answer the question, I guess. It's just, yeah, I don't want to seem like I'm pleased with FCC. Like, yeah, budget. We're saving money. Like, I don't care about, obviously, when people are like, can they afford to just buy out Bupenza or something? Like, yeah, they can. I don't care. Don't pocket watch, they'll be okay. Right. But also, I don't begrudge them if like they got a steal and Luka's better than they ever imagined. Or like, holy shit, this guy's actually better than Barrial. And what if I don't know, did we just unlock what he is? Or is this like, he's going to keep getting better? Like, is he as good as he's not? But like Almiron, like, could he be that for us? And then like Almiron leaves. And then a couple of years, like, he's DP worthy for MLS.
Right.
I don't know if he is now. Maybe he is. He's for some team. He for sure is, but he's not one of the ones that Chief would get rock hard about, obviously. So we've solved the problem. We've talked in circles. We've got it all locked down. Yeah, that is to say, maybe he could be a DP, and also it's a strong reason that he shouldn't be your DP. Yeah.
Solving problems here.
Similar question. If Assad is the starting left wing back solution for next year, like, we expect him to be the day in, day out starter every game of the season next year, are we okay with that right now?
I mean, to a certain extent, you have to be, because this team is spending so much money on a few players on super high contracts. Like, you're talking potentially next year about, theoretically, Miles Robinson could be on a max TAM deal. Miazga's on a max TAM deal. Obi will be pretty close. It'll be a high TAM deal once his transfer fee goes off. Cheeto is on probably, we think, a high TAM deal, probably close to a max TAM deal. If Luka isn't a DP, he's potentially on close to pretty much a max TAM deal. If you're going to do this with your roster, where you have a lot of players that are at the top of the salary structure, you'd better be able to find production from guys making $100,000, $200,000 or on the supplemental roster or U22s. You've got to have some guys that are vastly outperforming their contract, like your Ian Murphys, like your Yamil Assads. Otherwise, they're just not there. Your roster is going to be too many weak links to survive. So no, I don't have a problem with it if that's the way they're going to choose to build their roster.
Because that may also factor into the Orishano conversation as well, because depending on what the potential DP movement is up top, because they do seem to be targeting a Weston McKennie, Richard Sanchez type player. There's always the rumor out there of a DP striker.
They're still trying to bring a DP striker in.
Right.
Like that's... I think that, we've heard things about Richard Sanchez. I mean, we'll talk about this eventually in the next segment or two, but like, they're going to bring in a DP. They're going to try to bring a DP striker in within the next 2 or 3 days before the window closes.
That's wild that we haven't even got a whisper of a name out there.
I know, right? So can we talk about, speaking of striker, can we talk about the Kubo situation then.
Yeah, we can. I just very quickly, where you see Orishano on the field next year may influence the DP conversation as well. Is all I was getting at. If you see him as a number 10 and Assad as your starting wingback, then maybe that changes things. Yuya Kubo. Kubo wins the penalty, misses the penalty. Kubo had a couple of big chances that were missed. Overall, did not score. I thought, for my money, getting into good positions was getting the ball where we want it to. Couldn't bury it in the back of the net, but give me the striker with the good opportunities and the good volume, and eventually he'll come good. But Chief, it's my understanding you have a different view of Kubo's game.
So I thought he played well to earn the penalty. I thought there was a good...
butter him up now.
No. I'm going to butter him up. I'm going to be fair. There was a lot of really nice little intricate passes right at the top of the 18 that led the defender to be so out of position that he committed just an egregious, no questions asked penalty for the PK. You can't miss a penalty in a knockout game. You just can't. You can't do it. You can't do it. I don't care what the circumstances are. You cannot miss a penalty or kick a savable penalty in this situation. I understand the hypocrisy that I get on Roman Celentano for not saving penalties. It is my belief you should never miss a penalty or kick a savable penalty. The goal is big. The keeper is small. Kick it where he isn't. Like, the keeper can only cover so much of the goal. There are parts that the keeper can't get to at all. And you have an unlimited amount of time to stand over the ball and pick your shot. It was a terrible penalty. And you just need Yuya Kubo, someone that's a veteran. You need him to be better in that situation, or someone else needs to take the kick.
Jonah, your thoughts?
I thought it was an okay penalty. I've just seen so many worse ones that this sounds like he's my child. He hit it really hard.
He gave it a good effort.
What half the worst penalties you see are the ones where the guy's just like not committed and just kind of so worried about placing it that he substitute all power. He got it like 2/3 of the way. He hit it hard enough that if he had kicked it over another foot, maybe 2 feet, 2.5 feet to the left, it's going in and it's not savable. But yeah, he put it too close to the middle and it was savable. So I didn't think it was egregious just because I've seen enough bad ones. Like, if that's, it's like when someone says like, oh, I look fat. And you're like, if you look fat, then what does it mean for this person over here who's twice your size? Like, what are they? So if that's a horrible penalty, what's the one where the guy skied it at the end of the game? Like, to me, that's a horrible penalty. He didn't even get it on frame. It says XG of 77%. So I don't know what that means, but that's what MLS Soccer says. So
it could have been worse.
My reaction, he's not a penalty taker. But so like my reaction wasn't immediately like, Kubo, you fucking idiot. I was like, God damn it. Could have really used that penalty, but whatever, it all worked out. So I'll give that, as far as a missed PK, I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. That's a scale I just made up.
No. That feels fair to me. I will say,
as a miss or as a saved penalty, just like it's on a different scale than a made penalty, obviously.
Right. It wasn't like a dumb stutter step or a weird leap into the air.
No. The stutter step, it works. Like, the whole thing with the stutter step is all the time you see these stupid goalkeepers go early and like commit to what direction they're going to go. And the dude just calmly taps it the way they don't go. Every person that takes a PK should have a stutter or a pause. Like, there is no excuse now with how effective it is to not do something stupid like that. The people that just run up and take it, you're just asking for your PK to be saved, because then it turns into a binary choice. The goalkeeper goes one way or the other, and they're either right or they're wrong. You don't even get a single chance to read what way they're going.
If you close your eyes right now, there's no way you could picture Kubo doing a stutter step, even in practice. It's just not in his soul. That's like too close to dancing, And I don't think Kubo's danced in his life. No, Santos makes perfect sense for the stutter.
Yes. No, do the Australian breakdancer thing. Get on the ground and start like spinning around or some shit like that. Do anything just to vary the cadence up.
Oh man,
were they the one with the goalie Australia with the horrible goalie routine where he's trying to throw him off and he had the water bottle? And is that Australia?
Yes.
Remember, he was making a real ass of himself.
Oh my God. So it was Australia versus Peru. And I don't remember which keeper it was, but I do know that the Peruvian keeper is Orlando City's keeper. So I kind of hope it was him.
This guy's like the inverse of the stutter for goalies or whatever. But, what do you think, Kevin?
Threw the water bottle into the stands because he had the notes on it.
Wait, didn't Lucho do that? Did we hear that? I don't want to jump ahead too far.
Did he?
Someone say Lucho?
There was unsubstantiated rumors in the Discord that Lucho may have done that in the PK.
We'll just say he did. Why not?
Unless it gets him fined. Should do that anyway when they're warming up behind the opposing keeper. They should be stealing all of his shit in the middle of the game. Yeah, it's very funny if you go onto FBref. And I love looking at the percentile, like where a player compares to other forwards or other midfielders. And Kubo's is so funny because he has three options. You can compare him to forwards, midfielders, and fullbacks. And compared to forwards, terrible shooting stats, but amazing passing stats, touches, dribbling stats, amazing for a forward. And you go to midfielder and he has amazing shooting stats. He is one of the best shooters in the game and he's got so passing stats. It's so funny that he's the best shooting midfielder or he is the best possessive striker, but he is not
master of none.
All of it. Yeah.
Jack of all trades.
Sorry, it's like free throws in basketball. Make your PKs.
It looked good on the broadcast. I'll say I was not at this game. So if you were in the Bailey, maybe you had a different view on this one. But on the broadcast, it looked like an awesome PK. That's why I tweeted that as the post. I was like, oh, good PK. And then I see Chief, terrible PK. I was like, I don't know what I saw then.
Yeah, no, from where I saw it, it seemed like it was very easy to tell he was going left. Like the way that he approached the ball, there was no thought in my mind that this was going right. But what do I know?
Roman had those instincts
100 yards away. Maybe he was intimidated by the hair.
Yeah.
The problem is the other thing too is that if he makes this PK and they go up 2-1, I think they probably hang 2 or 3 more goals on this team because they just did not have the ability to get forward. And I think that if they tried to get forward, since it's a knockout game, I think that they probably would have exposed themselves and we would have been able to pick them off on the counter at least 1 or 2 times once Lucho got on the field. But by the virtue of the fact that they didn't score and they kept it level, it allowed them to just play back and play for penalties for the rest of the game.
Is there anything else about this game we want to talk about before we go to penalties? Does anybody have any?
No. Lucho played. Lucho. It was good that he was back on the field. Nice ovation that he got. I can't tell if it was rust or he's still hurt. I'm hoping it's rust.
Oh, he got kicked in the ankles like 1 minute after coming on. I was like, oh, fuck, there we go again.
Yeah, he had that one where, I don't know if it was after Assad was in great position to score, and then eventually crossed it over to Lucho, and he tried to go near post and sent it like 3 feet wide. I'm like, Lucho in his best form definitely scores that. But alas.
Does he not try as hard for Leagues Cup? Is that maybe something we can investigate?
We don't know.
Definitely. Everyone's saying it.
Other Yedlin, glad he's back. He looked good.
I'm glad you brought that up because 87th minute, Corey Baird subbed in for Yedlin at right back again. This is 2 games in a row. Baird has played late game right wing back. Damon texted me. He said, is it worth considering bringing Ray Gaddis back out of retirement if Corey Baird is going to be our right wing back depth.
Yeah, see, I don't think he's right wing back depth. I think he's right wing back depth in this situation alone. That this Santos Laguna team was showing absolutely no desire to get forward and win the game. And can Baird do this? Yeah. And it's an opportunity to get him on the field for PKs when you know that at most he's going to have to play 8 minutes tops at right wing back. And just tell him, don't get forward, stay back. And we're paying for PKs on this whole thing. And so what it allowed them to do, I don't think they do this in any other situation but a situation like this, where it allowed them to have effectively Kelsey, Acosta, Baird, and Santos all on the field for like 3 strikers and your top penalty taker all on the field at the same time.
And basically how it went in penalties there. But no love for bringing back Gaddis. We're not clamoring for Gaddis here.
I think he's exactly where he needs to be.
Okay.
You have Brett Halsey on this team. What is this Brett Halsey erasure?
Ooh. That is a good question.
So
who's been
PKs
mediocre lately?
It's not living it up. We go to PKs and nobody missed until Aldo Lopez sent one well over the bar. Absolutely love that Roman immediately shit talks.
Yeah. No, I think it was Schly in the Discord that said it's the equivalent of the DB making the incomplete sign when he's toasted and the ball just gets overthrown. It's like, yeah, you didn't have anything to do with that one, pal. It's funny too because they took 4 incredible penalties that were unsavable. Like, I can't even front or be mad at Roman for any of those. Now, to be fair, he dove the wrong direction, I think, all 4 times.
5
times. Sorry.
Yes.
Dove the wrong direction all 5 times. But if you are going to commit, like Santos Laguna did, to going top shelf, going side netting, you know, if you kick a savable penalty, it's still on frame. If you're going for the unsavable penalty every time, you're going to have to be okay occasionally with a miss like that because, you know, once you get down to penalty taker number 5, it starts getting a little dicey on most of these rosters.
Grayson pointed this out, and I don't remember if it was in the Discord or elsewhere, but he said when Evan was on the podcast, Evan pointed out or mentioned that he was given a scouting report and he was supposed to dive one way and he made up his mind at the last second to dive the opposite way and saved that penalty. Is it possible that Paul Rogers and the coaching staff and the scouting staff is just really bad at this? or is this on Roman?
Is it on the water bottle? Is there a possibility someone's looking at the water bottle to find out what our scouting report is and then telling everyone to do the opposite?
I mean, if you're at home, I would hope you could get, I don't know why home would matter, but a couple easy signals you could make to somebody to tell them which way to dive. But I don't know, like my fake John Boy video, drum in the Bailey, just let him know.
Kenny Arena's kicking a trash can in the tunnel club.
He's literally just like going like.
I did note to somebody via text message that we aren't a proper footballing country because I didn't see a single laser pointer in the Bailey being used as a distraction tool.
I mean,
please don't bring laser pointers into the game. But that always was like a fun feature at soccer games back like about 10, 15 years ago. Like the laser pointer right on the eyes of people as they were trying to
do
take
this,
shots.
the last African Cup of Nations, it was like 8 on. Was it? Did Egypt lose? I'm trying to think of which it was. They were like in the final of this one. There's probably been a couple one, and it was like I'm like picturing Mo Salah or something, but it could have been the opposite team. But it was just like I wouldn't have done like. It's one of the times you're like, no. We can't kick right now. Like it was like his face, his entire face is lit up just like by like, can everybody see this? And of course you fucking lose. Like, yeah.
I remember that Salah had an issue. There's also some great highlights of both Messi and Ronaldo like taking penalties, and yeah, their whole face is green from just being lit up with laser pointers.
Like, the beautiful game. Kevin, when do you want me to drop these amazing goalkeeping penalty kick stats?
I want them right now.
It's going to blow your mind. Roman's actually really good. No, I'm just kidding. Wait, no, we've seen him off. He's faced 15 PKs for FCC. We're just talking league play. We're talking league. So I know this is League's Cup. Why are you talking about this? This is where he faces most of them. 15 penalties. How many times do you think he's dove the correct way out of 15?
Twice.
5. 2 saves, though. So those are counted in the 5 correct ones.
Okay.
2 down the middle. Where do you stand on down the middle?
Hmm.
Because it's hard not to go. One of them was very close. He went down the middle and almost got a kick save. But I didn't know how to count that as dove the wrong way. Well, I guess. But
Ooh, or do you have 3 options, right? Like you're blocking the left or the right or the middle. And so standing still is sort of a valid option if you think you're going to get Panenka'd or something.
Which I don't think he's ever stood still. So,
Right.
Yeah, he saved 2. Last night, the Santos guy had 2 correct dives. Yeah, I mean, if you're them and they're hitting all theirs in the top shelf, I bet they were feeling pretty good that he was going to come up with 1 save. They must have been feeling confident that long hair was going to get 1.
Yeah.
In MLS this year, 76% success rate on penalties. Roman gives up 87%.
Ooh.
10 teams have not saved a penalty kick. This is my favorite stat. Columbus Crew, 0 penalty kick saves in 5 seasons in MLS, 5 straight seasons.
Holy shit.
How is that possible? And 6 out of the last 7. Montreal, it's been 4 seasons since they had a penalty save. So hate on Roman all you want. All I know is Columbus is worse. So just remember that at the end of the day, 5 seasons since Columbus has saved in league play a penalty. Impressive stat.
I wish I didn't know
joined?
that. I wish I didn't know that stat before we play Columbus again in a couple weeks.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's since
pretty
we've
impressive.
joined MLS, they have not saved a penalty
In the regular season.
in the regular season.
I
Sure.
didn't. That's all I was looking at, regular season stats. So if they're like, we have 6 in the playoffs, all right, fuck you.
Whatever. Yeah.
Or PK
That's
shootouts,
weird.
but
Yeah,
it's
you're
just
great
a
in
random
cup tournaments. What can we say?
Yeah, congratulations.
I'd even say suspicious if that's the case.
I'm
how
shocked.
do you feel
I'm shocked Roman dives correctly that many times. It just doesn't feel that way.
Most his first season, he had the 2 saves and he dove correctly 2 other times. So he's only had guessed correctly once in the last 2 seasons, if that makes you feel
Oh,
like
Jesus.
So he was looking good that first season, 2 saves and 2 did everything he could. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I don't know what to think about him. Chief, what is your opinion in general on the PK specializer goalie coming in?
I'm kind of for it. I was thinking to myself, maybe that's what Evan's role in this team is. He's 1 for 1 so far.
Yeah.
Bring him in.
The other team has to think about it
Right.
on some level. Do I change things now that it's this guy?
It also potentially saves your starter, so Roman in this case, from a humiliation that he'll then have to carry, especially Leagues Cup, then into the rest of the regular season. That you just pop him out of it. He doesn't have to worry about this anymore.
I was thinking that maybe what Roman really needs to start doing is start doing the basketball psych out, just yelling really fucked up stuff at the opposing player as he's about to take the PK. Don't do prep work on what direction he goes. Do prep work on his wife's name or embarrassing things from his childhood, and just yell and try and get in his head right there in that moment.
He definitely doesn't have that aspect to his game, like the Argentina keeper who's lives for that. Roman, his yellow cards are for time wasting. He's not getting up in anyone's face in a PK.
You can leave kids out of it. You don't have to make fun of the man's kids, but
right.
with the power of the internet and social media, I'll bet that he can find one truly horrific fact about every player playing, or like something wrong that he can exploit for his own benefit. You know, read
yelling that from the line
from down in Mexico.
Jesus.
like just, you know, do a deep dive on the Instagram. Just, you're looking for that just a little bit of edge, where if he's thinking about that, maybe he's not thinking about placing this ball perfectly.
Oh, Jesus.
What at this point, what is the point of scouting the penalties? I mean, I laid out the number. He didn't dive correctly. Did he dive correctly? He didn't dive correctly once in the shootout. Not even the one that went into the sky. He didn't even dive that way on there. So like, they're literally like, I would just that could be one thing that's just like messing him up. Like, thinking about, don't tell him, don't think about it, and just guess on instinct, because your guess is as good as anything else.
I mean, in fact, if he would have just ignored the scouting report and gone the other way, he would have guessed right every time. Like,
yeah. Well, we don't know what he's. That's a good question to ask. Like, how many times you don't want to? You had him on the pod. You don't want to like bring up how many penalties he's given up, but you'd be like, how many times have you gone against the recommended?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Have you thought about doing the George Costanza, where whatever you think you're going to do the opposite?
I don't trust my own instincts here.
Maybe that's what we should do. Maybe Luke the intern needs to come up and figure out who Philadelphia's 5 top PK people are, and find one horrendous fact about each person that we can forward to Roman, so that he can.
We'll hire a dirt digging PR firm, like all these guys,
Oppo research in the business right here.
You just hire Queen City Mafia. I think they'll be more than pleased to do this for you.
USL days were easier because he'd just find the guy on Facebook and see who he's dating and yell his girlfriend's name at him all game. Anything else from this game? I think we've covered this one.
It's a win.
Overall, the better team won. Huzzah. Strong penalties. Did I see Buka had a stutter or a hesitation in his penalty? Would not have expected that from Buka. Definitely had the same vibes as Kubo, and then he busted it out.
Yeah, the stutter is life.
Hopefully we don't have to see it next round.
No,
yes.
No more PKs. I'm done with PKs. Kevin, should we take us to segment 2? And I don't know, what are we talking in segment 2?
Segment 2, we'll just mention that there's nothing in the transfer window, and let's talk some of the feedback you got on Twitter for Leagues Cup. And then part 3, we'll preview the Philly match, and we'll get out of here. Before we head on over to that next part of the episode, I do want to tell you about our friends over at Cincy Shirts, our dear, dear friends here at the Postcast. Believe it or not, our very first sponsor from way back when. And guess what? Not only are they good friends of ours, not only have they been doing FC Cincinnati gear from USL year 1, but these guys are also doing Postcast merch. That is right. We have designs up on the website right now. Search Cincy Postcast. You can find our gear on Cincy Shirts. There's also links in the description of this show. But if you don't like our stuff, and you know what, if you don't tell me about it, but that's fine. Okay, you can buy anything else off of the Cincy Shirts website or in store using promo code ThePostCincy. All one word, all caps. That will knock 10% off of your entire order. That works on Cincy Postcast shirts themselves. And you can check them out in person. They are in Oakley Hyde Park. They are in Fort Mitchell, and they are also in Loveland. You can print any shirt on demand. I know that from experience. I've been able to do it. Walk in there, ask them to make a design, any size shirt, any design. It's really, really cool setup to do it in person there in any of their 3 locations. So again, a huge thank you to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring this episode. And thank you, dear listener, for using that promo code. Again, ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, 10% off your next order. All right, back to the episode. All right, we are back. Chief, you put out the call on Twitter, aka X, aka Twitter, and you asked people, how can we make the Leagues Cup better? People had some good ideas. People had some funny ideas. What did you see?
Well, I guess to level set it, if you look around the Leagues Cup this past weekend, there were some empty stadiums. Attendance hasn't been great, I don't think, for this tournament. Thankfully for FC Cincinnati, a lot of people seem to have opted into tickets, but the secondary market has been absolutely flooded with a lot of those seats. So I don't get the sense anyone's buying from the box office for these games. And yeah, I think that, like, do you guys agree with me on this? I feel this is year 2 of the Leagues Cup, and we're starting to see a couple of the flaws in the Leagues Cup formatting and a couple of the warts with the whole Leagues Cup process. I think this tournament, if it's going to succeed long term, needs to change and make some changes to, I don't know. It doesn't work for me right now. I like the idea, but in year 2, I'm just not a Leagues Cup guy. I'm fully bought in now on FC Cincinnati's Leagues Cup run, but I've noticed problems with this tournament. How do you guys feel about this?
Jonah, take a first crack at it.
Well, the problem and good thing for me, though, at the same time, is I kind of enjoy the little break that the Leagues Cup is. Now they've kind of, I opted out this year. I was like you. I was surprised that I had tickets for that first one. I was like, babe, we got to go to the game tomorrow, because then we didn't. Actually sold them at the last second. But yeah, now if your team advances, enough, it's kind of like the U.S. Open Cup is, if people want to be honest, where at the beginning you don't really care, and eventually if your team's still in it, it's a tournament, you're going to get interested. But that is one of the problems, because it's like, we didn't take a break for like the Copa America and stuff, and we kept playing. So it's like, this feels right to have a little break here where I don't have to care. And a lot of fans of teams don't feel like they have enough reason to care unless they get far enough along, kind of like the Open Cup. So you're kind of, the draw of Liga MX teams is not that high for casual MLS fans. They don't have bigger stars than we do in MLS. Right. They might have better top to bottom quality, but it's not like, you got to see it. They got more TAM level players on their team. I'm definitely heading out for this one. So
better Peruvians.
Yeah, exactly.
These guys.
They have Mexican national team players, which is very exciting if you live and follow the Mexican national team. But it would be like, I don't think anyone in Liga MX is excited that they get to see Miles Robinson play for FC Cincinnati.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas we find that to be pretty cool.
Yeah. And not playing in Mexico just gives the whole thing a little bit of exhibition quality. Not that they haven't been trying out there. It seems like players it's definitely not playing at an exhibition level. But yeah, until they solve that, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out. I don't know all the replies. Maybe they will solve the problem. So I look forward to hearing about it. But
yeah, I think one of the biggest things would be where in the schedule this tournament falls. To me, it screams middle of summer or middle of winter. And I think if you play it in the middle of the summer when there's potentially a World Cup or Copa America going on, it makes more sense. If you do it in the middle of January in neutral cities or neutral sites in warmer climates, aka Mexico, the U.S.-Mexico border, I think that makes a lot more sense to keep interest in your product through periods of time where there may not be as much interest. I think that makes a lot more sense than what they did, which is like at the very start of the Liga MX season and at the very end of the MLS season, we have to suddenly stop caring about those things and the whole thing goes on pause, which is, again, weird in and of itself. Maybe it makes more sense to just run it throughout the season like Open Cup would. I don't know. But I think the schedule is a big missing piece. And I also think the 3-team groups is dumb. Next year, they move to 48 teams. I think that gives you 12 groups of 4. So maybe it makes a little more sense once we add San Diego, unfortunately. So I don't know. But that would be my gut. Yeah.
Yeah. The hard part is that when you talk, like, a lot of people have said this needs to be played during the season, like the Open Cup is, the FA Cup and everything like that. Part of the problem is that these mid-season tournaments, they work in countries that are the size of like the state of Ohio.
Right.
But the travel is a bitch in this league. And adding more Wednesday games or midweek games, like the schedule doesn't work when you're asking teams to travel as much as you would for a lot of these extra Open Cup games and extra Leagues Cup games. So, I mean, I am sympathetic to that idea. I've also thought that these games might be perfect to play during international breaks. So during the international window when, half your roster is gone, yeah, we'll play a Leagues Cup match then. And then, you're not out of sight, out of mind for a 2-week stretch because, there's an international window that you're not playing through. And I wouldn't mind. I don't want my team playing games that matter during an international window, but a Leagues Cup match or even an Open Cup match, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I'm not going to be broken up that we're sending a lot of reserves to play in Leagues Cup. But let's hear the suggestions. How about that? So I'm just going to roll through some of these and get your guys' reaction. So I asked the X community, taping the postcast later tonight, soliciting ideas for what you do to fix the Leagues Cup to get more people watching and attending matches. Here's one. Create a penalty box for yellow cards, 5 minutes off the pitch. Crazy idea, yes, but it would create more excitement.
So there's a lot of people that suggested different rules, and like those are fun.
Right.
But I don't know how many people are watching. Now I say that, and I see Jonah has that exact suggestion here. MLS 1.0 PKs.
Right. That was my two favorites. So I was going to read those two. I love the penalty box idea no matter what. Yeah. The other rule change that I want to highlight is Jonah saying MLS 1.0 running PKs, which in every tournament that isn't like the MLS season, Open Cup should use the MLS running PKs. Leagues Cup should use the running PKs. I think the MLS Cup final should use MLS running PKs. Or the All-Star game, should use MLS running PKs. I think
and that MLS Cup, why not?
Yeah, more of that. So there's crazy rule changes in here. But this one, run it like the college football playoffs. Have a mini 4-game season where teams play a preset schedule. Then have a committee of Don Garber and Mikel Arreola, Liga MX president, decide the 12 best teams to play in a knockout tournament. That way they can rig the selection. My thought has been this entire time what we need is the BCS computers involved in this. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
What's really funny about that suggestion is that is how Leagues Cup used to work. So like this feels like the second year of Leagues Cup. And sure, like as the tournament as we know it, that's true. But it's been around for like 4 or 5 years now. And the first couple of versions were literally like, hey, here's 4 Liga MX teams and 4 MLS teams. And there's not really a rhyme or reason why we picked them, but it just so happened to be Seattle, Atlanta, Club America, and Chivas. And we're just going to see what happens if we do it this way.
I do remember that Atlanta final.
Yeah.
I do love the idea that the BCS computers are just in some dusty basement and you can like dust the computers off. And it's like, we got a new assignment for you. We need you to pick soccer teams.
From what I remember, a handful of the algorithms were secret. Some of them went public after they retired the BCS. I'm pretty sure somebody out there still does a like BCS score for all of the teams throughout the college football season. So it is fun to see like what the BCS computers would have done. And it feels like most years the BCS computer was as good, if not better, than the selection committee. So.
That's absolutely true. I'm going to give people credit. That was James St. John was that one. The Post, Damon Gumbert. Add more teams from outside MLS and Liga MX so it keeps the matchups fresher. USL could be a good addition if they decide to say goodbye to the Open Cup. I have had this thought already that you could undercut a good deal of the Save the Open Cup nonsense if you invited a certain number of USL teams to this tournament. because I don't get the sense that people are really going to bat for the Open Cup. It's just the USL fan base that's mad that this thing that gives them the opportunity to play the bigger teams is going away. And just you won't hear the howling from like the NPSL or Bob's Bar team that's being denied an opportunity to play in the Open Cup.
So if you go to 48 teams, that's 12 groups of 4 teams. You could, and using, peeking ahead a little bit, other people's suggestions of reducing the number of MLS teams down a little bit to even up the ratios. You could potentially offer the 12 best USL teams, the 12 best MLS teams, the 12 best Liga MX teams, and the 12 best Argentine teams, the 12 best Brazilian teams, whatever a gap makes sense there, the 12 best Premier League teams, whatever you got to do. Again, you drop it in the middle of the summer. They treat it like friendlies. That's fine. We treat it like a real thing. That's fine. It all works out. Yeah, Leagues Cup, I think, is intentionally vague enough. It's not the Copa de Nordamericano or whatever. Like, they left it vague, I think, on purpose. So I see something like that absolutely being on the table.
Jonah?
Do they want it to be like in sync with CONCACAF Champions Cup, or are they trying to get rid of CONCACAF Champions Cup because this is like because they don't control that?
I've had a suspicion they want to get rid of CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Yeah.
So it was originally that, and then they struck a deal where they gave CONCACAF Champions Cup spots from Leagues Cup as a way to sort of make it subservient to that. But like CONCACAF Champions Cup only matters when it's League MX versus MLS. So
yeah.
Nobody's paying to watch, some team from, Colombia or whatever. And the Jamaican teams, we've seen what that looks like. They're just wasting everyone's time and wasting a perfectly good season ticket opportunity.
Hey, they're letting Dado shine, so I always respect that.
They did let Dado shine. Pat Brennan, friend of the podcast, recurring guest, honorary co-host, play games in Mexico and no Liga MX versus Liga MX matchups in the round of 32 and the round of 16 unless it's unavoidable. I think Pat, when we had him on, I think he views this cup more as less of this is a competitive trophy to win, and more that this is like an exhibition to increase soccer awareness and soccer excitement in this country, to where, because his suggestions were, it sucks that Cincinnati isn't getting a bigger Liga MX team than Querétaro, where if this is something you want to win, you absolutely want Querétaro and Santos Laguna. You don't want to play America or Pumas or Tigres or any of the major Mexican teams until as late as possible. But I don't know that I disagree with him, because I think that there needs to be more Mexican teams making it through to the knockout rounds in the round of 32 to keep this interesting. I don't care about this upcoming game against Philly because I see them play Philly all the time. Like, I want them to win, but there's no intrigue in this match. We've seen it already.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I buy
I don't know who
besides
MLS owners who want more tickets in their stadium. As a fan, even like MLS fans who we can go to the next FCC game, I'd probably rather them be playing a game in Mexico than getting to see them at DQL this coming Tuesday. That'd be my preference as well, because I think that's like the real measuring stick, is going there and win, which like teams basically never do in the Champions Cup. So more opportunities to break the seal on that. I'm obviously in favor of that. So I don't know how to work that out somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like, new potential away days, new potential opponents is way more fun. Like, us getting to play Monterrey in Champions League earlier this year was way more fun than like we get to play San Jose for the first time in 3 years. Like, it is annoying that we get what ought to be interesting, good opponents, and then we don't get the opportunity to play at there. place. So
yeah, I think that like if there's the one most realistic change that needs to happen to this tournament is that they need to have games in Mexico and they need to have matches in Mexico. That just, to me, that's a given if this tournament's going to have any sort of credibility going forward. We talked about this one already from Bill Wolf. Reduce the number of MLS teams to equal Liga MX teams. Do groups of 4. Allow draws in the group stage so we aren't exhausted of PKs by knockouts. I agree with that as well. I think that once you have groups of 4, you absolutely should allow draws and just do it the exact same way you do at any tournament that makes sense. David Merman, don't have it in the regular season. Make it a winter thing. We've talked about that too. I think that, I'm the proponent of play this instead of MLS Cup after the season, but I think that playing this in winter makes a lot more sense if you're going to go with it. Todd Carnes, the Todd father, I think a part we haven't talked about yet, and I think that's worth saying, defined schedule, more public about dates, scatter it throughout the season versus a month rush. It lowers the barrier of entry to fans. I think the scattering it through the season is tough because of the travel. But it was interesting to me that when we previewed the Monday game on our podcast, neither one of us could figure out when the next game would be played after, or the Friday game, when we were like, okay, if we win, when do we play next? I don't know. Turns out the answer is Tuesday, but it does make these games very hard to plan for because it just seems like they're making up when they occur.
What made that really funny too is it said round of 32 starts 8-7, and we're like, this is stupid. There are no games on 8-7. There was one game on 8-7. We had just completely missed.
There we go.
Yeah. When would the quarterfinal be? If somebody has it out there, great. I don't see it. It's not on the website. So if we beat Philly, when would we host? I don't know. The semifinals are 8/21. The quarterfinals are TBD. So
it's part of the magic of the cup.
Robbie O suggests introduce breakdancing instead of pens after regulation time.
Kubo retires.
Who on FC Cincinnati do you think is a true B-boy, Kevin?
Kubo. I'm just kidding. He's the opposite. He's the Australian B-boy.
Yedlin dresses like one. Like, ooh, he's got the style to be one. Santos would try, but it'd be like a laugh. He's like, it's not his style. I'm not just going to go through the whole roster, but
Did we let Bupenza go too soon? Would he have been good at this?
I think Pavel Buka is absolutely the right answer.
He's just got a secret.
Him or Kip Keller, one of the two of them. I feel like Kip Keller absolutely gets down on the dance floor. Here we go. We talked about this one as well. This would be Alex Mendez, eliminate the worst 3 teams from each conference and invite South American teams that can fit into their schedule. Imagine games with Brazil and Argentinian teams involve mini Copa Libertadores. I think that's a great idea. We talked about that one already, though. Games in Mexico keeps getting repeated. My dump the playoffs gets suggested by Tyler Plank. Love that. Bigger groups, fewer teams, have the best teams in Mexico play. Use lower level pro referees with no VAR. I love the idea of putting referees that are completely outmatched by what's going on and just letting the boys play.
Low level pro referees and no VAR with more games in Mexico is a really good suggestion.
So the last good one that I'm going to read here is from Leon Heimer. And like some of these I'm skipping just because it's stuff we've already talked about. Leon Heimer. Elimination style tournament, lose and you're out. He said you could theoretically look into home and home matches. Draw every Mexican team versus MLS team in round 1. Move it to the beginning of the season. Winner gets additional TAM or GAM for the season. 4, winner gets to play in the MLS Super Cup against the playoff winners. Playing it at the start of the season is very interesting to me. And doing this is sort of like MLS season returns with the Leagues Cup and then going into the start of the schedule right afterwards. I don't hate that.
Kevin, where's Liga MX at the beginning of our season? Are they at the end of one of their 2 seasons with their stupid 2 seasons that I hate?
Yeah.
Unsportsmanlike.
I do hate that.
The Clausura starts in like late January. or February.
I just don't want Liga MX to be like, we're fucking jacked and we've been rolling already. And then like we're coming out of preseason and we just get fucking steamrolled by every Liga MX team.
Right. Let's see here. Going back. Yeah. So they start January 12th through the 19th was sort of the start of the clausura. So you'd have to do it like basically over the Christmas break to try to keep it somewhat neutral.
I'm still into it though. A little Christmas
in general.
soccer.
And I like that the winner, like, you know, they meet with somebody else at the end. I don't know if that's like Community Shield level, but you know, you can make it matter somehow.
Yeah. On a similar note, they should start the year, and the first match of the year that matters should be the Supporter Shield winner versus the MLS Cup winner, whatever that is.
Isn't that what they call that? The Community Shield and the EPL?
Yes, the FA Cup winner.
The Community Shield, yeah. And that is a game that is like its own thing. I'm saying the MLS season should start with the first regular season game of the year should be the Supporter Shield winner versus the MLS Cup winner. So we would have started with a hell is real to start this season.
They'll do that if it's messy. Yeah, we'll do this. That's a great idea. Yeah, sure.
Sounds great. Chief, was there anything else?
The only other suggestions, which just, you know, I can't tell if it's being sarcastic or not, but I'm going to read it anyway. Call it the U.S. Open Cup, and then let all the lower level teams play, and then cut out the Mexico teams fixed from the Galv. Which, you know, what's funny about all this is that, congratulations, you have created a tournament that has the exact same problem as the Open Cup, and that's that you're playing to empty stadiums, the schedule doesn't make any sense, and people don't know how much they're supposed to care. Maybe MLS just has a problem selling tickets beyond the season ticket package. It's already too damn expensive for a lot of people, and no, they're not going to pay more for extra games unless there is some real value add to it. And with this, like, if you're opting in, what you're opting in for is you opted in for a Friday night game when they don't play Friday night games ever, a Monday night game when they don't play Monday night games ever, and now a Tuesday night game. Like, you're opting into games where you buy FC Cincinnati tickets on the idea that these games are either Wednesdays, Saturdays, or Sundays, and you've created a tournament where none of the games have been on Wednesday, Saturday, or Sunday.
And there's no way to know ahead of time when the games potentially could be.
Yeah, that's the problem, too. There was one other, it was kind of the same as what Todd said, but somebody tweeted here, and I want to make sure that I give them Bengals nut, so whoever you are. Announce the schedule and game times in advance. I've told the office I will not buy tickets for games. You can't tell me when they will be played. I think that is an absolutely validly fair criticism of this tournament.
Yeah.
So yeah, can this tournament be fixed, or do you think they're going to fix it, or is this just the way it's going to be for all eternity? It feels like MLS doesn't like to change things,
except for playoff formats, which they are. Not afraid to change. I've actually been I don't say impressed, but like I feel like our crowds, like we don't know how many people opted. Like that feels right. Like New England, it's like everything's like their normal situation, but on steroids. So it's like New England always kind of had shitty attendance, and now it's like this just heightens that. And I think we've done pretty good for Tuesday and Friday, the last two games. Like it looks like the amount that should be there for the Leagues Cup, no more, no less. So right. I'm proud of us, you know.
Well
Attendance
done,
FC,
everybody.
Yeah, we've done it.
I would love to know if the MLS executives think this is a success. Like, I'm sure they have wildly different metrics, like number of subscribers out of Mexico or number of Spanish language feeds watched during this. Like, I'd be really curious to see what they think is a success and if this is a success.
It's just so opaque to figure out. Like, no, they won't release streaming numbers. You have no idea how many people are watching, how many people care. I think it's been brought up, though, that part of the reason why Leagues Cup isn't drawing a bigger deal, like, I don't know. I guess this is inventory for Apple TV, but wouldn't you try to sell this like try and get this on over the air television for the first couple of years just to build interest in it?
I wonder if it was offered. I'm sure it was, because there is not the Olympics, obviously, but like there's not much to compete with it where it lands in the sports calendar. Like,
yeah, like
baseball
the NFL preseason,
season, right? Yeah, this is it. So like, yeah, if you're Fox Sports 1, like, I don't know. I was at a restaurant earlier today. They had cornhole on, and I know cornhole outdraws MLS a lot of the time, but like, surely this could have been an option. I don't know.
I was at my in-laws, and there was pickleball on ESPN.
Man,
that's
worse than esports. I'll tell you that much.
Right, and it's like, Ben Fast getting visibly erect, thinking about the writings it's drawing that were better than MLS. If only there was. Does pickleball have pro rel? The real question.
Damn, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Leagues Cup. I don't know. Some of those, if you're listening, Don Garber or anyone at MLS, there's plenty of free suggestions here. If you want to, hire the postcast to help you fix this tournament, Jonah, would you be willing to take a sizable cash payment from the league in order to help them fix this tournament?
I just love the sport so much. I'm willing to do what it takes to get this right. And we will.
Right. Kevin, would you take a substantial cash payment to help fix this?
I'd even take a not so substantial cash payment to fix this.
Never bid against yourself. That's rule number 1 in life.
I did that with First Financial. And they were like, we're actually just going to give you this much. I undercut myself. like, how about, Julie said, how about this? And it was more than I said. I was like, okay, you got a budget and you're just like giving everyone the same thing. I would take this. Like, yeah, we're going to give you more. So good work. Shrewd businessman. That's what everybody calls me.
Right. I mean, street side, I just would have taken a free beer every now and then.
Whoa.
Whoa, shit. Did we talk? Right. There's no transfer rumors right now for FC Cincinnati.
Start one.
There is literally no transfer rumors. There's nothing to say.
Hold on. Let me
Tom Bogert.
Search Twitter right now. I'll just play. Maybe it's somebody just tweeted about
broke.
us. Maybe you never know.
What I will say is. No. according to every source I talk to about this, and yes, I talk to people. Not often, because I'm generally an unlikable fellow online, but they are still attempting to bring a DP striker in. It's just a question of, does the deal get done? So,
and I think that them.
I feel like the people that I speak with would want to start tempering expectations right now if they thought that they couldn't get something done, and I didn't get that vibe at this point. So we shall see. Chris Albright has always come through at the last minute. He came through at the 11th hour with Kevin Kelsey, came through at the 11th hour with Matt Miazga. I guess we just wait. Because when you listen to this, there will be, 2 days left in the window?
Jesus Christ.
14th, right? That's where we're going to?
Yeah.
So this comes out on the 12th?
If you have Chris Albright's number, call him right now. See if he's busy.
I do not have Chris Albright's
number. I'm talking to the listeners, okay? Any of you listeners out there, some of you work for the club, just call him. Let us know. Like, he chatted me up for a long time. This isn't looking good, boys. He just wanted to shoot the shit.
If you're working for the club.
Yeah.
If you're working for the club and listening to this, stop the podcast and go work on a signing. Yeah. I don't care if you're selling tickets. Like, go to Chris Albright's office and say, how can I help?
It's a printout of 8 transfer market targets.
What can I do to help get this deal across the line?
Would you
go the fuck back downstairs and sell tickets to this game on Tuesday?
So we had it so well while having it horrible. We had a GM who leaked everything, who had a son who was leaking things, who's on Twitter directly talking to podcasts. We didn't know how good we had it while we had it horrible, So we had that part. But I guess that's one of the reasons. When you have a total shit team, you're finding out everything about them. Now that we have a good team, you don't find it. It's almost like there's something corresponding with that. I don't know. It seems like we fixed the club and now we don't get all that cool stuff we did before, which is kind of upsetting. But I guess you take the good with the bad.
Bastards. All right. Well, we'll head on over to part 3. Talk about the Philadelphia Union game on Tuesday, a weird Tuesday game, and then we'll get you out of here. All right, we are back, and we have a game to preview, a match to preview. FC Cincinnati hosting the Philadelphia Union. The winner gets Mazatlan and or Cruz Azul, probably just one of them.
But I mean, can you imagine if all three teams played at the same time?
There is that like 3-team soccer that the Dutch play sometimes. It could be fun.
Freaky.
I bet Lucha would be really good at 3-way soccer.
Nice.
Only one ball?
Yes, there is only one ball, but I was just thinking Skyline absolutely needs to sponsor a 3-way soccer tournament. Come on.
What are we doing here?
So,
Yes.
this game is happening. The last time these two teams faced each other, it was a wild affair. June 19th.
This was the Lucho I refuse to lose game.
Yeah, this was Lucho Acosta in the 90 plus 10th minute, the 100th minute, refusing to lose. This was after Philly scored in the 91st minute. Wild game. Kevin Kelsey scored in this one. My favorite is the Fought Mob momentum chart, which is just looks like a heartbeat meter. It's just whipping back and forth between the teams here. Goals galore in this one. It was a fun one. Last time out, Philadelphia Union beat Montreal 2-0. Kind of weird. Both goals scored in added time, both at halftime and at the end of the match by Barabo, which is a name I am not familiar with the Philadelphia Union. It looks like they're trying. It looks like mostly their first choice starting lineup played against Montreal. So if you were hoping that they were not taking this one seriously, sorry. It looks like they are trying.
Fuck.
I hate it when other teams try.
Yeah.
How dare they? It's
So,
funny.
yeah.
Philly was awful to start this year. I think they were in last place for a solid portion of the season. And in like the last 5 games, they've gotten it together. They are 5 wins and a draw, or 4 wins and a draw in their last 5, and really beating the hell out of some teams. Wins 2 against Montreal. They have the 1-1 draw with Cruz Azul. Then they had previously beaten Charlotte 1-0, Nashville 3-0, New England Revolution 5-1. This is the Philadelphia team I think that most people thought they would see this year, given how good they've been and how consistently good they've been. So feels like you're seeing them in their best form right now, too, which you don't love going into a game like this.
And this just came across my desk. I'm seeing this. Apparently, Pat Noonan and coach of Philadelphia, whoever he is, are friends, which is going to be a big talking point this week. I don't know if you.
Ooh, I smell storyline.
But hey, when they get on the field, though, the friendship ends. Sasha Kleshin just told me that on TV the other night. They take it very seriously. Once the game starts, they don't think about their friendship. So that's going to be something to watch. But I know it's like the League's Cup. God bless the League's Cup, because I went back. I was looking at the form guide, probably like Chief was looking at. I know because Philadelphia's doing better now. I was like, oh yeah, we lost our last 3. So you know what? Maybe we're having our awakening now. The League's Cup was just what we needed. Now Lucho coming back, so they're gonna get. I'm assuming. I honestly have no idea. They're gonna get our best. I can't imagine us like we're gonna go real hard against Santos. We're going to pull back a little bit now that we advanced against Philly. So, I mean, I think it's safe to assume we're getting our best starting 11. And, should be something. It'll be a game. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, it's going to happen. It's certainly going to be a game.
Andre Blake, back from injury, recently played in their last game. So that's something for them. I guess Jonah, you bring up a good point. Chief, do you think we run out the best possible lineup? As far as I can tell, Lucho is healthy again. Yedlin's healthy again. Do we not see our first choice 11 here?
Yeah, I mean, we saw our first choice 11, I think, other than Lucho on Friday night. The only difference being that, like, Pat Noonan never gives you full 90 coming off injury. You always come back into the lineup the way Lucho did, coming on as a substitution. So I would expect that if Lucho was fit to play those minutes, he's going to be fit to start in this next game. And I think we see our full choice 11. And I think that this is the part in the tournament, you're into the round of 16 where, yeah, you're trying to win. You're 4 wins away from a trophy now at this point?
Yes.
So, yeah, go for it, I think. I think you have to go for it at this point. My only question with this is, will we have made a signing by then? And will there be a new member of the team? I think it would be too early for anyone to debut. Maybe. But
Gio?
It's happened quickly before. Like, Cheeto came in and he played pretty quickly after he got his visa. I think Yedlin came in and started almost immediately. I seem to recall Obi coming in and almost immediately entering into the starting lineup.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's where my sort of head is at, is that it's two things. It's, are we advancing in this tournament? And they've got 2 U22 spots and a DP spot open. Are we bringing new players in between now and then?
DP striker would be interesting because you probably would rate them ahead of Kubo. And if they do the one lone striker up top move, which I assume will be the formation regardless of who the striker is, I think it would make sense to just sort of drop them in up top and see what happens. Like,
sink or swim.
yeah.
I don't know that we're married to this formation either, by the way. Like, I wanted to say that earlier. We played 2 strikers the majority of the year until like recently. And I feel like it's by necessity that they just didn't have that second striker that they liked enough to put on the field.
If you can get Bupenza on a deal now that he's totally free at a reduced wage, take a flyer on him. He's been out of form with his most recent club, but that'd be us.
He's worth a league minimum for sure.
It's like, guys,
I mean, he was valued at $8 million just a year ago.
You have that horrible breakup, and then like you run into him at the grocery store. You're like, let's give it one more try. Let's do this.
Or it's, it's 2 a.m. and you just text you up, and then you make a bad decision with an ex.
It's like,
be the first
you
time
already know I'm up, buddy. I'm up. I'm out. I'm on the prowl.
Right. But you're going to have to pick me up because I can't drive to you.
You up? I'm outside.
I'm texting on a bird scooter right now. I'm making horrible decisions, but I'm ready. Could Gio Reyna play striker?
How many 10s can we put on the field at one time?
Our new striker, Weston McKennie. I just want it to be like a rumor that came and went, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, that either for better or worse." Well, that's not happening. They'd be like,
right.
"That's still happening." Like, we've all resigned ourselves to like, okay, Weston McKennie's like coming to FCC, and then like that's the big signing. Like, cool. All right. Like, I don't even know.
Like, I've already got over you.
Right. Or I've already had all my reactions and moved on. I can't like get my anger back up for this signing again. It just,
we need the USA to play real quick so I can be like, this is what we're paying for.
Yeah, like if there was a friendly between the Copa exit and now, and McKennie scored 2 goals, I feel like the mood would be so different.
He's back. He looks better than ever.
He just kicked the shit out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Let's go.
Do we want to place Kevin, I don't know how you are on gambling odds. Like, what are our bets? What percent? Yeah, what percent do you think we make a signing? Confidence that we'll have a signing before the transfer window's over. It doesn't have to be this striker. Let's say somebody.
Yeah. Okay.
Before the window's
open. I was
open.
Say striker. My number is lower. A big dollar signing, so that lets me be a DP or a U23. I'll put us
2.
at
What, we have a U23 system now?
or whatever it is, U21 system, whatever it is. I put us at like 70% chance that we make this signing.
That makes me happy.
I'm going to say 80.
Okay.
I think if they don't sign anyone else other than Cheeto and they go the rest of the season with 2 U22s and a DP spot open and a senior roster spot open, that's weird to me. Like you've known these U22 spots were coming for months. I think the initial reporting by Tom Bogert about this was
in January. May. No, it was like in January. Yeah.
Right. And your ownership voted on this. So like you're like internally in MLS, they've known this for a lot longer than it's probably been out there. You've known everything I've heard is they were trying to move Bupenza in the offseason, and they were trying to move him again at the start of the season, even before his injury. Yeah, I know. But like, so you've known you were going to have 2 U22s available and a DP available for months. Like I understand that the Aaron Bupenza thing highlights the importance of you can't just bring any good player in. You have to bring the right good player in. And I think it was Pat Brennan maybe, or somebody pointed out online that why a lot of these teams are making signings now is that they've had the spot open for a while and they were waiting to get the right player. I'm moved by that a little bit, but you've had a lot of time to find the right player. And to not come away with anything besides Cheeto in this window, I'd have to hear some explanation from Albright. I think I would want to hear some explanation as to why they didn't get anything done this window with the number of open spots they have. And I know there's been some talk about this idea of a U22. Well, where are we going to play them? Like, we don't need U22s. We need depth. Like, we lost the Eastern Conference Finals last year in large part because Columbus could bring players on and we had nobody. And we were just running a team that had been sick with the flu all week and banged up, and we just ran them ragged, and there was nothing left to give at the end of that game. You have 2 young kids, U22s, that can come in and be fresh legs and run around and just create havoc. They probably win that game. But I don't know. I just don't think that this team is deep enough, and I don't think that they're frankly playing well enough to justify saying, yeah, we're good the way we are. We'll go the rest of the year, the rest of the season this way.
Yeah, you just need one Lucho list game, not last game. But we started feeling a little comfortable when we were winning every game until this recent blip. You're like, where does a new guy even fit in on this team? And then you have like one game where like Lucho or someone else is missing. You're like, fuck, we suck. It's like, yeah, the line between, and then your center back gets hurt. Obviously, we replaced that, but you can never have too many center backs. That's like, no one's ever been like, God, we just can't find room for all these center backs. Like, we already rotate them as is with ones who aren't great. So,
right.
Yeah. And Bogert, it's been months since he was like, yeah, Bupenza's going to be out. They're bringing in a DP9. Like, he's been saying that for.
Right.
So it's a little scary that kind of like he was saying that because obviously they had someone in mind at that point. And now we're at this point. And I'm like, do we still have any of those guys that we were talking about back then? Because he was as confident as he is about anything. Obviously, he knew something. And it's every time he brought it up, like, yeah, they're bringing in a DP9 or DP9 is going to come in. But like, it was just like an offhand thing at that point. He was like, it's happening. And now it's like, I'm glad you guys are a higher percentage than me. I guess just the vibes of not hearing anything. I'm like 25%. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it would be pretty surprising if they didn't sign somebody.
Yeah.
The way that I'm reading this situation right now, and I could be way off base, and no one has told me anything that would lead me to believe this is true. It's just, connecting the dots a little bit, is I think they are trying to bring a striker in right now. And that if they can't bring a striker in that they like, it feels like then at that point, that's where the Richard Sanchez rumor at Club America is, where you can't bring the striker in right now. But you know that you're going to have another open DP spot in January when Obi's contract is able to be bought down, when his transfer fee is done. And if you would then at that point think about, well, then we'll bring in another DP midfielder after we get our striker, and we'll have someone like a Richard Sanchez as a DP midfielder. if you can't get the striker now, then maybe you bring in Obi's DP spot replacement, not Obi's replacement, but the DP spot replacement for Obi now, and push getting the striker into the winter, which is why like they keep saying, oh, you know, there's been a lot of chatter about Richard Sanchez to FC Cincinnati, but really going nowhere. That feels very much like they're just stringing this along until, you know, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday when it's like, okay, the lights are coming up at the bar and I haven't met anyone. Here's the phone number I've got in my back pocket so I don't go home alone tonight.
Right. Oh, God. Well, whoever they are, they'll be the best player in the league. We'll support them to the ends of the earth, right up until they get their jaw broken by a semi-pro boxer, and then we will drop them like a bad habit. We need predictions for this game, gentlemen. Looking at the last couple of games, we do tend to have Philly's number. It's been a while since they beat us. Is that October 2022 in the playoffs? Was the last time they defeated us?
Losers.
Absolute losers. Who wants to put a number on it? Anybody got a score? Jonah, you breathed?
First thing in my head was 2-1. We'll go 2-1. Regular time.
For the good
no
guys.
More PKs. I don't want to put it out in the world. Yeah.
Nice. I assume that's a Cincinnati win, 2-1. Okay. Don't let me put words in your mouth.
Grayson's
okay?
not here. I'm picking for the home team. Okay.
He's a very pessimistic predictor. Chief, what do you got for us?
2-2 and we lose on penalties.
Oh,
God, why did we do that? Damn it, Roman. I'm already mad at you. You blew it, man.
This team's so stupid. And we didn't sign a DP striker. Is the worst week ever.
I mean, there is that like lurking out there that we lose this game and then the window comes and goes and we don't sign anyone. And then you want to talk about a 2-week opportunity for some of the spiciest takes you can possibly imagine. Well, only 2 weeks. It'd be 10 days. So the window would close on the 14th.
Oh,
the next game for this team would be Miami. And the 10 days leading up to that where you lost and you also didn't sign anyone, this fan base may eat itself alive. Like, it could be hilarious.
I don't know what you're talking about, because then we host Montreal and then Columbus, so it could be really rough.
Yeah. There's a real dark timeline that could possibly emerge starting this week.
Especially playing a Columbus coming off of their new Leagues Cup trophy. Ooh, that'll be tough.
Maybe they'll rest people. Do we have anybody who actually plays for us? Who's like semi-injured now? Because I love hearing the commentator. It's like a new signing. They got back this fucking scrub. Yeah, we get back kind of like, it's like they made a new signing. I love when a team do that. Like, because this guy's been injured. Like, it's like that. It's not, but it is like that. I get how you would say that.
Is that Lucho for us?
It's like a new signing.
What about this?
Yeah, exactly.
What if you were given a choice between a new DP striker or Matt Miazga's leg magically healing and he returns to the starting lineup in full fitness on Tuesday?
That's pretty good.
I think I would go Miazga just because I feel like they're not, it depends who it is, obviously, but they're always not guaranteed to hit that first year or the first,
Right.
Who is the striker?
Right. No, I'll give you a choice. You can have any striker you want under $70 million. So you're not going to get the truly like elitist striker, but you're going to get someone who is like turns heads. Or Miazga's leg magically heals overnight. He walks into the facility and he's like, "Coach, I can play." And they take him back to the medical thing and they look at it and it's like, "I don't understand how this happened, but yeah, you're good." And the electric vibe of news that there has been a miracle. Someone's getting canonized because of this, but Matt Miazga is available for selection on Tuesday.
Setting aside the fact that
he's on season, they've already designated one season.
You say under 70?
Under 70.
Who do you got?
I see Ollie Watkins. He had a pretty nice goal in the Rasmus Højlund from United. Although I think I'm taking the striker.
João Felix valued at, is he north of 70?
I think at this point he's lower. He's under 60.
Yeah.
Oh, we're in euros. Fuck.
Oh, geez.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, what's the exchange rate is what it is. I can't help that.
Euro to dollars. This is good stuff.
Oh, Christ. We're scraping Wrexham strikers
1
now.
to 1.09. Okay, it's pretty close enough. So, yeah,
it's
a couple
fair.
million. Endrick, we want the 18-year-old. He'll fit in perfectly here.
Yes. Chief, I thought you were going to make us the offer DP striker, or you guarantee perfect health for the remainder of the season for every player on the team.
Still take perfect health for the remainder of the season.
I think I would.
I might take it for Lucho alone if we're being
Right.
on. Like a DP, or I can guarantee Lucho will be fully healthy.
Yeah.
And good to go for the rest of the year.
every
Yeah,
game.
I'm gonna give Lucho take my energy. Come on.
Right.
I'm taking Marcus Rashford over Miazga's field leg. Okay, there, I'll say it. Is that crazy?
Yeah, you're denying one of the most epic pops that TQL Stadium will ever have when Miazga throws the crutches down, rips off his training gear, and he's already kitted out and just walks out to the starting lineup.
I mean, we could just sign another DP center back if that's actually what you're looking for.
No, I want Matt Miazga back specifically.
Okay.
You can't replicate his energy with anyone else.
Jonathan David's
He's
worth
irreplaceable.
50 million. Good for him. Jeez Louise. Anyways, that's...
I made Jonah think on this episode, and that's job
Well, I don't have
done
the
on-
market
on my
values
part.
locked in my head, but yeah, I now that I'm looking at the quality of striker, that's just more fun. Just in general, it's like,
Give me something new.
Yeah.
I want a shiny new thing.
You can get a name at that price point too.
Right.
like this guy actually has better WAR. It's like, but he's never hit a home run before. Like, I want to see some dingers. Okay, I'm sorry. Call me crazy.
I don't think I ever gave a prediction, so I'll give you 3-2 for the good guys.
Well, there you go. I hope to God that you guys are right. That would be a lot more fun.
Sergio Santos game winner against his old club. Oh, imagine the storylines.
Oh.
I had to think about it.
Did we talk about the fact that Pat Noonan and Jim Curtin are friends yet? Because that's really the...
I danced around it because I couldn't remember Curtin's name for a split second.
Dude, I thought that was the bit. That was
Sure.
good. Do we actually think their friendship ends when the whistle blows? Like,
No, they're still friends.
they're still friends.
Yeah. If they could sneak a phone onto the field, they'd be texting each other on their group thread during the game.
Like they
Nice
wouldn't ever
strategy, yeah.
get into a fight. Right? It's just all compliments back and forth.
Or like they're just sharing memes.
Live memes of the game. Like, LOL, your subs suck.
I'd like that, at least make.
Got any intel for me on any of your players for PKs?
Which way's Andre going?
Remember when they got rid of Santos and like their players were like apoplectic? How do you say that? They were like
Yeah.
crushed. And then I was like, this is great news. Like, what? Santos has some magic about him that people would be that heartbroken for his level of production. So you got to factor that into his cost.
I mean, Philadelphia hasn't won the Supporters' Shield since they got rid of Santos, and we have. Many people are saying
Damn.
that he is the sole reason.
Their locker room also revolted or almost revolted when Bedoya and Wagner almost left, but then they didn't. So I guess they all survived. So.
That was strange.
I love a good almost revolt. We
All
done
right.
here?
I think we're done. Chief, end this mercifully.
Oh, go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to the show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.